NFL Network's Rhett Lewis joins us, and we'll be looking at the Week 6 breakdown for the Saints coming up next on the Wincinnati Podcast.
Yes, sir. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Time to be a Bengals
How do
fan.
you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are your top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time?
Yeah.
Shock the world.
Welcome to the Wincinnati Podcast. I'm your host, Ace Boogie. He's your co-host, Zim Hude. Zim, what's up, bro?
What's up, world? What's going on? We got a lot of stuff going on today. We got a fire interview. One of my favorite interviews that we've had as long as me and you've been doing this, my guy. So
Fuego.
Yeah, super fuego. So I'm really excited about that. Aside from that, I mean, I guess we're just waiting for Kevin Durant to just, at 34 years old, just take over and just take the league by storm.
It's okay, bro. He's not going to the Wizards. He's not going to the Wizards again, Zim. I know you want it to happen, but unfortunately, It's not happening. But like Zim said, we have a great interview planned for you guys. Rhett Lewis is going to join us from the NFL Network. We're going to be looking for the next level on our next topic, and then we're going to wrap with the Week 6 breakdown, looking at the New Orleans Saints. And Zim, you're going to talk to us about our friends from Pierce Dental Group in Cincinnati?
I sure am. So I've been talking about it on every show. I've been trying to let you guys know that your smile is very important. I think everybody has that feeling where you don't want to feel subconsciously thinking about like how you look or when you open your mouth talking to somebody. It doesn't hurt to just get a free consultation. I want everyone to make sure that you go and contact Pierce Dental Group, located downtown Fountain Square, Cincinnati. Really dope spot, really great people. But there you can get a free virtual consultation, even if you aren't in the Cincinnati area. Really good guy. This dentist has the best shoe game in the entire dentist world. I will assure you that. I think that's very important too. You need to make sure that your dentist cares about his shoe game too, because if he doesn't, what is he going to do to your teeth? So make sure you go ahead and check those guys out, and I promise you, you won't regret it.
For sure. But without further ado, we won't keep you guys waiting. We'll bring in now the interview with NFL Network's Rhett Lewis. And we have a special guest today. We have NFL Network's Rhett Lewis. He's joining us. Rhett, how you doing today, bro?
What's up, fellas? Man, I'm pumped to be with you, and I've been following what you guys do on social media, and obviously it's been a great year to be a Bengals fan. So looking to see what Joey B and the crew have for an encore here.
For sure. Like from your standpoint, obviously me and Zim got to watch that Super Bowl run. What were your impressions of like that Super Bowl run that the Bengals had?
I thought it was an incredible amount of connection from all different pieces, especially on offense. I felt like the connection that Joe had with all of his targets, not just wideouts. That includes the running back group. That included, at that point, CJ Uzomah. Hopefully this year that's Hayden Hurst's role, or whoever pops up into that tight end spot. So I just thought it was an incredible connection. It truly reminded me of the LSU Tigers in 2019. Sure. when we were talking about Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Terrace Marshall and that whole crew and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and like they all had it rolling in the same direction. And once you got to the postseason, you could really see those last two games, two of those last three games, the regular season. Then you get into the postseason, you're like, look, man, you're going to have to bring it to beat this crew. And that's really what it felt like to me. It felt like the 2019 LSU Tigers.
Do you remember? Because one of my questions I was going to ask you is, being like a student of the game, like how have you been? Do you remember a time in NFL history where offensive line probably underperformed to that level and made it all the way to the Super Bowl?
That's a great question, Zim. Honestly, I don't know that I could think of something that that resonated that way for me. And now, look, I grew up a Saints fan, and we had some really good offensive teams when Bobby Hebert was there, when Jim Everett was there.
See, you're taking me back to my Tecmo Bowl.
Buddy.
That's when I was in my Tecmo prime. Same.
Eric Martin, Dalton Hilliard, Reuben Mays, Ironhead Hayward, the whole crew, man. And so even if you go back, like way back, like Archie Manning back, like he was a stud. Never got to the postseason with the Saints, but their offensive line was not the best, and that's kind of been so like that to me kind of feels like when I was like growing up in my fandom, I was like, we had some good offensive linemen, but man, you kind of wonder what it might have been like if it were a little bit better, and I'm sure that's what Bengals fans are thinking when Aaron Donald is over here, doing the ring, you know what I mean? So that's what makes me excited about this year.
Right. And I guess I asked you that because I think based off of what we know from that in our 2021 season, what were your overall impressions of Joe Burrow?
Yeah. So this is really interesting because I had a chance to talk to Kevin Falk, another great LSU Tiger, former New England Patriot, just recently went into the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame. Was a 1999 Senior Bowler, and was a phenomenal player at LSU, 4-year player, and then goes to New England and kind of continues that Swiss Army knife type role that we all covet now in the NFL. So he was in player development for Ed Orgeron when Joe Burrow came down from Ohio State, and started talking a lot about that first spring. You were kind of like, okay, yeah. Or the first summer, that first fall camp, and then the first season, you're like, oh, this is he's okay, kind of fits in with what LSU has had at quarterback for what feels like the better part of a decade. Just kind of middle of the road type of quarterbacks. And then something clicked, right? And Kevin Falk told me, he was like, he came back, Joe Burrow came back after that first season, came back to spring ball, and he was like, who is this dude? Who is this dude? And he was telling me, he's like, I remember going back to my family down in Carencro, Louisiana. I was telling him, you better watch out because we got a dude now. And so I was like, oh, and like, yeah, you were right. You're right. I mean, you go into fall camp and into the game, and it's like a whole different guy, whole different offense. And it becomes the best offense we'd seen in college football at that point.
So at first there were some Zach Mettenberger vibes, and then he just showed up and just Joey B.
Like mediocre, to be fair. And I'm sure he would probably tell you the same, but like he jumps into that program and just kind of has to pick things up, as he's going. And, then Joe Brady, kind of starts putting his touches on the offense and things really start clicking. And so that's kind of what it reminded me of going back to Joe's rookie year, right? Rookie year was pretty good. Like it did some good things and then was really kind of starting to feel it a little bit. Then the ACL happens and we don't get to see him for the rest of the year. And so that's what 2021 felt like for me with Joe. It felt like 18-19 at LSU. And I know I keep bringing you back to Baton Rouge, but like the parallels are there, man. Those are my impressions of Joe. Seeing Joe, interviewing him for Inside Training Camp on NFL Network ahead of this last season, him and Jamar Chase, I was like, this dude reminds me of the guy I saw at the Manning Passing Academy going into his senior year. Edgy, like Joe Cool, like the dude that was wearing the Ray-Bans through the workouts the whole time that summer. I was like, all right. So like this dude feels himself a little bit, little cocky, a little confident, but like you need that, right? To be a really good quarterback in the league. And so that's what 2021 felt like to me for him. It was like, all right, I got 1 year under my belt. I figured out these dudes and now it's time to roll. And man, he put it together, and I'm afraid for the rest of the AFC North, man, to see what this guy can do now that we're talking about, Karras, Kappa, and Collins all joining the fray. And you still got the phenomenal group of skill guys.
For sure. So he's trading out those Ray-Bans for those Cartiers now.
Yes.
For sure.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, for me, I think one of the moments. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just saying, like the cool factor with him is like, I'm going to be me. I don't give a crap what everybody else is saying about me. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. And we're going to go win.
For sure. I think taking it back to Baton Rouge, I think the moment for me when I noticed like it clicked for Joe Burrow was that that bowl game against UCF. And he was going against them, and the guy like pummels him, and everybody's thinking that it's going to be over. I think he threw a pick six or something like that. And then like from that moment on, he just like started hitting a whole other level. So I totally agree with you with the Baton Rouge transition. It was insane for sure. But you talked about Karras and some of those guys up on the offensive line. Like, what are some of the performance capabilities do you think that Joe Burrow can do this season in 2022, being that he kind of stepped it up in 2021 from 2020? Is there another level that he can tap into with this new offensive line?
I think so. I think so. And look, this is a dude, as we've been talking about, the common theme here is confidence. It's the overused, swag. Like he drips it, right? I mean, it comes off him. You feel it, right? When he sweats, he drips out swagger. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like
sounds like me. Are you talking about me or Joe?
Well, I speak from experience.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of dripping going on this pod today, guys.
So much drip. But like, here's the thing: those three guys are upgrades, right? I think no question. But I also don't think that they're among the top 5 at their position in the league. So it's not like it's not like this is going to be, the best offensive line in football. Right. I don't think we're there yet, but any sort of upgrade is going to be fantastic for Joe, just to be able to kind of have that, a little bit more of that comfortability, in the pocket, and not feeling like maybe the clock in his head, is on ultra speed all day long. Every time he drops back, he might have that extra. That's the thing. Like when we're talking about these upgrades in an offensive line, we're talking about like hundredths of a second. That Joe's going to get. We're not talking. He's not going from like 2 seconds to throw to 4 seconds to throw.
Right.
It's not gonna. It's not like the Great Wall of China is in front of Joe Burrow here at this point. But it's better, and it's going to give him that extra half a second, maybe in some cases, to let Tyler Boyd work his way through the slot and find a way, find that open zone, in an intermediate part of the field, 20 yards downfield. And then we can find that, you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be drop back, Jamar's down the right side. I got to hit him now, you know? So I think you might see a few more of those intermediate throws. And look, nobody's better than him on 3rd and 4th down in the league right now. So I mean, he's already getting to the ceiling, but I do think there's more out there,
It's so crazy that you're saying that. We interviewed another NFL Network contributor, and Daniel Jeremiah, and he said that he didn't think, and I don't want to misquote him, but he didn't think that him getting extra time was something that worked in his favor. He was saying that his processing speed being so fast is really what makes him a superhero, in the fact that he has more time on the offensive line. But I would say the back end of what you were saying, I think what'll be one of the bigger changes is that now, from a route concept, from a schematic standpoint, from a play calling standpoint, you're now opening up the playbook a little bit more.
I think so too. And I think last year, in a way, to DJ's point, certainly helped Joe, because like he knew, it was like, it's snap, bang, bang, balls out. It's gotta be, or things are getting crazy back here and we're going to be in trouble. So I think that's a really good point right there. And the other part of it, is in the run game. Like Lyle Collins is a masher. Cap is a masher. Like these, I almost think that like this may be a bigger upgrade from a run game standpoint than it is from protecting Joe Burrow. You know what I mean? Karras can do it all. Obviously, he's asked to do, a lot of different things, has played different positions, in New England. So I think you got a little flexibility there too. So I'm excited to see what Joe Mixon does, because I still don't think that we've seen like the full range of his ability from a run game perspective. So, we talk about how, improving the offensive line is going to help Joe, but like which Joe, right? Might be Mixon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So you kind of talked about how the offensive line will help receivers get open. You also play ball at Indiana as a receiver yourself. So can you talk about that and the new role that you'll actually be having coming up with the Hoosiers?
Yeah, good call. So, I
played
trip.
These were the early trip.
This is the yes. So we're going back to the glory days here a little bit. Yeah, 01 to 05 at Indiana. Played for 3 different head coaches, 4 different position coaches, 6 different quarterbacks. It was hard times. It was hard times. And so we didn't win a ton of games. Had an incredible amount of fun. Built lifelong friendships. Learned a ton about the game. And here's the thing: like, played for 3 different head coaches, and a lot of times I think you could view that as a negative. But I got to see 3 different philosophies, 3 different styles, learn different offenses, get absorbed into different styles and schemes. And so, like, I played for Cam Cameron, who went on to be an offensive coordinator and head coach in the NFL for a while. Just a phenomenal recruiter. We had immense talent on those teams, didn't put it all together. Jerry DiNardo was one of the biggest students of the game, a former LSU coach, former Vanderbilt head coach. So much, he has forgotten more about football than I will ever know. And so the X's and O's part of it, special teams, understanding the importance there. And then Terry Hepner, who was my last coach, rest in peace, was just one of the best motivators I've ever seen. So I really just had such a cool, eclectic group of coaches and understood that a little bit. And played with some great players. Chris Dielman was a Pro Bowl guard for Phillip Rivers out with the Chargers for a long time. Antoine Randall, of course, was Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Excuse me. So I learned a ton, and that really kind of set me on this course, right, in broadcasting. And now I get it to go full circle, go back and be the radio color analyst for the Hoosiers broadcast this year, which I'm really looking forward to. Kind of getting that into an analyst role, which is I'm more of a play-by-play guy at heart, but kind of interested to flex those muscles a little bit. So yeah, I get to learn a lot more about other college players because I do a lot of draft stuff, and so that's going to be really neat too around the Big Ten.
Oh, that's dope, man. Congrats on that for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say congratulations on new beginnings.
Thank you, man.
If you really want to flex your muscle on your wide receiver assessment of the best trio of wide receivers in the National Football League. We call them amigos. Some people in the universe,
amigos. Yes.
I've heard the triplets, but behind my partner Ace right there is Migos, a famous design that a guy named Joseph Burrow once wore. He wore this shirt, and we absolutely clobbered the Chiefs that day. So it is a very, very, nostalgic piece of artwork right there. But give me your assessment, flex your muscle on your wide receiver assessment of the Migos.
Yeah. So
how can you stop them? How good can they be?
Right.
That's Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. If you're listening at home and you don't know who the Migos are,
it's something for everybody, right? It's something for everybody. It's that's the thing. Like, Jamar Chase, though, is the complete package. There's nothing where you're like, oh, that's his specialty. Well, his specialty is making plays. Like, you remember, again, going back to LSU, nobody caught more touch. He had 80 catches his last year at LSU. 65 of them either went for touchdowns or first downs. You know what I mean? So, like, that's what he does. He moves the chains and he scores from anywhere. Let him do anywhere. He'll take a 5-yard hitch to the end zone. He'll take a 16-yard dig to the end zone. He'll take a 50-yard go route and go up and get it. Like, there's nothing he can't do. So he's like the complete package. Put him anywhere on the field, and he's going to make a play. I feel like T. Higgins. I mean, he showed us he's got explosive ability too in the Super Bowl, obviously. Terrific athlete, but has that go up and get it mentality. Maybe more so than the rest of the crew with his size and his frame. I think a phenomenal red zone threat. And then Tyler Boyd is a silky smooth. He's criminally underrated in my view. I just, as the first one there is the OG of the Migo group, if you will. The guy that was there just, making plays in the middle of the field, I feel like is where he's kind of at his best. An opportunity to have two-way goes on a slot defender, I think is lethal with the way he almost reminds me a little bit of like Keenan Allen light, like in the way that he is so fluid. He's got great hips. and his ability to turn defenders inside out, I think were really good. And then mention T and Jamar, and then like I think getting Joe Mixon into the pass game too is kind of again the next level of this thing. Seeing what Hayden Hurst can do, I'm kind of convinced that we haven't seen the best of Hayden Hurst yet either in his NFL career.
Sure.
Underutilized in Baltimore, I think in Atlanta, we saw flashes, but they bring in Kyle Pitts and he becomes, kind of the target. So if Hayden Hurst is the guy, watch out. So I think that group is cool.
I'm not gonna lie. I think you've been listening to my partner here, because one thing that he's been emphasizing is what La'el Collins and this offensive line is going to do for Joe Mixon. The fact that Hayden Hurst has never had anything remotely close to what he's about to go into right now. But I did want to ask you something real quick. Is Jamar Chase in your eyes already a top 3 wide receiver? And is T. Higgins a top 15 wide receiver in the National Football League?
Jamar Chase, no question, is a top 3 wide receiver.
When we tell people that online, they think that I'm crazy. They call me a homer.
No, I think what he did as a rookie, you're like, okay. Like it had Randy Moss vibes, as a rookie, just in terms of production and impact. I know the numbers, they're close, but they weren't quite, Randy Moss like. But Cooper Kupp to me is a top 3 wide receiver in this league. I think Jamar Chase is there. It's really hard to start separating out once you get to 3. It's like or 2 and 3. Man, you're talking about Debo. You're talking about Justin Jefferson. Jamar's former teammate.
Devontae Adams.
Yeah, Devontae for sure. So it's like, who you going to take out? But I think, and that's the thing. It's like, these things get people upset on social media, because they've got their top. Look, I think the way you got to phrase it is he's top 3 caliber. He's a top 3 caliber receiver. Like we can rank him a bunch of different ways,
right?
But he deserves to be in the conversation. And that's the thing. And then you talk about the fact that was year 1. Like, God dang, you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna be like next year. We're gonna tell you, is this the best receiver in the NFL? You know what I mean? Like that's gonna be the question that you guys ask me at this time next year when we come on and talk. So, and then as far as T, I think he's got that potential. I don't know if he's there yet. I think there are games in which he's either underutilized or does not have the type of impact that he's capable of on a consistent basis. So I'd like to see him become, and that's hard when you got 3 dudes, there's going to be guys that just don't have a game some days, just because of the nature of the game plan, nature of the way defenses are playing those 3. So I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's going to be hard for both Tyler and T to break into that top 15, top 10 conversation just because of what Jamar already does.
No, that's for sure. So speaking of, we talked about Burrow and Chase. They're heading back to New Orleans for the first time in their NFL careers this season. Just talking about that game and getting into it, what do you feel like are some of the strengths that the Saints will kind of present for the Bengals?
So I'm going to answer your question here in a second, but let me bring you back to probably 4 years ago now. Jamar Chase is leaving Rummel High School, or going into his senior year at Rummel High School in Metairie, Louisiana. By the way, don't ever say that Jamar Chase is from Metairie. He hates it. He is from New Orleans. It's a very important distinction. I made that mistake in training camp the other day, or last summer. So I'll take you back there. He was going into the opening finals, right? This is the year that Justin Fields was going into his last year. Trevor Lawrence going into his last year of high school. It's the Elite 11, the opening finals. We're broadcasting the 7-on-7 finals on NFL Network of that tournament, that elite tournament for high school kids. And Jamar Chase was scheduled to come on our program and announce his commitment. He was choosing between TCU and LSU. Things happen. It's a live broadcast. We had some things that got thrown on our plate. We didn't have time to get Jamar on. He wasn't super excited about that. The next day or a couple of days later, instead of committing, just saying he's going to commit, he reopens his recruitment, right? And then he commits to Florida. And so he wasn't even considering Florida at that point. It was going to be TCU or LSU. He reopens his commitment, commits to Florida. Coaching change later on at Florida, decommits from Florida. And then Ed Orgeron comes in at LSU gets him back into the fold at LSU and locks down his commitment. And then he goes on the tear, obviously, with Joe Burrow. So basically what I'm saying is, because perhaps he did not commit to TCU that day, and who knows what would have happened then, you guys, if you want to say thank you to me and our friends here at NFL Network for ensuring that Joe, in a circuitous moment, was going to find his way to LSU, become the player he was, and end up, in Cincinnati as one of the best receivers in football. You're welcome. All right. So that's it. All right.
Give it that domino over. You kicked the first.
It's like
domino
6 degrees
over.
of separation. So, yeah. Here we go. New Orleans and Cincinnati. So here's the thing about the Saints on defense. First, they have elite playmakers at all 3 levels. Something the Bengals couldn't say last year. I don't feel like Jesse Bates back there as a safety, I think, is an elite playmaker. Second level player, I think, Logan Wilson's getting there. I don't know if he's there yet. And then obviously, what Drixie was able to do getting after the passer, and Sam Hubbard, they're up there. But Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, another guy who is criminally underrated at the linebacker spot, as an off-the-ball linebacker.
One of my favorite linebackers.
Yes.
Hands down.
Marshawn Lattimore, lockdown corner when he's at the top of his game.
For sure.
So they have an incredible amount of continuity and experience at all 3 levels and in scheme, with Dennis Allen staying on to take over for Sean Payton, who's now gone. So defense, they're going to be great. And here's the other thing. I think they might have upgraded at safety. They lost both their starting safeties, right? Malcolm Jenkins retired. Marcus Williams gets the big deal to go to Baltimore. Ravens. I love Marcus May, who comes over after tearing his Achilles last year with the Jets. If he's healthy, he's going to be a heck of a player. And then, the fact that you got the landlord, the Honey Badger, LSU Tiger, New Orleans' finest, Tyrann Mathieu, now coming back to the Saints.
He's been working out with my boy Nat every single day. Right? He originally was the guy that trained Jamar coming into the league. First year, Jamar, I don't know, he's gone and did his own thing. Yeah. But he's been killing it.
But
and I mean, he looks like the ultimate warrior right now on Instagram.
I believe it.
Like, I swear to goodness, like, this is the best I've seen Honey Badger look in a while. I know I watch a lot of people train, but this is.
And then how about CJGJ? Chauncey Gardner.
Chauncey Gardner,
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
they got guys, bro.
They have dudes all over the place. Now, depth-wise, maybe a little bit of trouble, and I think that's why we saw them not win 10 games last year, for the first time, and not win the division for the first time in 4 years. Peyton Turner missed the entire last half of the season, and then Marcus Davenport missed a ton of ball last year. So a lot of guys that they were counting on to be part of their rotation up front, and just on defense as a whole, were gone. And then, all right, so that's defense. Like, I think they're going to be just fine on defense. Dennis Allen's going to have that group. It's a well-oiled machine, right? And then offensive line will be interesting. Still got Ryan Ramczyk, who's arguably one of the best right tackles in all of football.
Yep.
Their center, Eric McCoy, is a really good player. I don't know that Cesar Ruiz has been what they expected him to be after taking him in the first round out of Michigan. Andrews Pete, poor guy, can't stay healthy and missed the last half of the season last year as well, left guard. And then you have a huge hole left tackle with Teron Armstead, who also has missed some games each of the last few seasons now in Miami. They did draft Trevor Penning. Are you going to count on a rookie? Played in Northern Iowa, nasty dude. Love watching that dude play. I think he's going to be a really good player. You're going to count on him week 1 to protect Jameis Winston coming off ACL surgery. You know what I mean? Like, it might be some anxious moments there. So there's that. What's gonna happen with Alvin Kamara's suspension? I assume, after the incident in Vegas, does he assume there's gonna be some? I don't think, has it been announced yet? If it did,
okay.
I haven't seen it. Yeah,
I'm sorry. The rumors is 6.
I think that's probably where you start. Whether it's a few less or a few more, I don't know. But that's a huge deal, because what was that team like when Alvin wasn't there last year?
Oh yeah, we're searching for that.
I do have
a hot take.
Player, their most important.
What's
player.
the hot take?
Sure.
This is a hot take. Chris Olave going to the Saints paired up with Jameis Winston is the best wide receiver situation from the draft that I can outline. Best situation. Now, there are other guys that I think will have success, but Chris Olave going in that system, going to that quarterback that 100% will air it out, I thought that was a great combination out of all the wide receivers.
I love it. Chris was one of my favorite players in the draft, period. Now, he's a little slight, right? He's a little slender, but he is as smooth as there was in that draft class.
I thought you were about to give us the Jameis Winston. Have you seen the as smooth as the other side of?
No. I can't get with Jameis sayings. Not right now. Not right now.
He has a famous one. I hope maybe our producer Ryan can post that on the show or something. But his other side of the pillow one where he doesn't say the other side of the pillow.
It doesn't. This is something different. Yeah,
it's very different and it's funny as hell. I just think that we should throw that on the show now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, come on, Ryan. Let's get this thing rolling. So I think Jameis is again a little bit of a question mark, but he had a really nice year before he got injured. You know, you go out, they blow out Green Bay week 1. They're kind of rolling a little bit, and then the wheels start falling off as the injuries start mounting, and his was arguably the biggest. When your start quarterback goes down, and then they ended up playing 3 different quarterbacks. It was a mess, right? I don't know. Can Jameis still take care of the football? What does the offensive philosophy look like? Obviously, Pete Carmichael, who's been there forever with Sean Payton, is going to remain as the offensive coordinator and play caller now. Remember, Sean called plays. Pete called some, in times where Sean was out. But think about this. This is the guy who's been with Sean Payton essentially the whole ride there in New Orleans. Taylor making the scheme to fit what Sean wants to do, throwing in his own ideas, I'm sure. But is there a part of him that's like, I've got some stuff back here that I have not been able to use yet, because of what Sean wanted to do? And is that a good thing? Is that a thing that might take some time to get used to for Jameis Winston? Also, I haven't seen Michael Thomas for a better part of 2 years. What's he going to look like when he comes out here, both from a health perspective, both from a scheme fit perspective, if there are any new wrinkles? I think the potential is there for them to be a high-powered offense once again, but there's a lot of variables. Offensive line 1, Alvin Kamara availability 2, scheme questions 3, and then how does the young receiver integrate himself into the offense? Because if not, kind of back to where we were last year, you got, Jarvis Landry being there too, I think helps stabilize things a little bit. Another Louisiana guy coming back. So it's what do you guys think about Jameis? Like, do you think we've seen enough to know that Jameis can't get it done in the biggest spots? Or
we were about to ask you the same question. We just wrote down a note to ask you the same exact question.
Okay. I was actually. So for me, I've watched Jameis since he was in Tallahassee because I spent some time in Tallahassee. I witnessed him at Florida State. For me, the biggest issue with Jameis is that he plays too much hero ball. He never knows when to really give up on a play, and that kind of leads to some of those 30 for 30 kind of things. If you really watched his last season before he came into the NFL, getting drafted out of FSU, he really was taking a lot of chances there and having a lot of interceptions there, and it translated. Now, I think that Sean has kind of helped refine him at that standpoint, but I still feel like he's always going to get that itch that he can always score on every single play. And I think that that's to his detriment most of the times.
So here's the other thing. I mean, like before he got injured, we're talking about a guy who was 14 touchdowns in 7 games and just 3 interceptions. So if we kind of math that thing out here, for a full season, we're talking about probably 35 touchdowns, maybe 9 picks. That's all right bad to me. That's winning football. You know what I mean?
I think the Kamara thing that you touched on earlier, though, kind of goes hand in hand where now he's going to be put in some positions that aren't favorable to that. And they kind of go hand in hand, though. I think Kamara will make a big difference in that equation of the touchdown, the interception ratio, because at some point early in the season, he's going to have to push the ball down the field and take some chances.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And if Alvin's not there, Mark Ingram, while good player, I think really between the tackles, I think he's good in the screen game too, but just doesn't have that same type of, electric ability at this point in his career to bail you out too. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, let me simplify it. Is Jameis Winston a strength or a weakness on this team?
I think he's an unknown. He's an unknown still. I just don't think we have enough of a sample size in the offense that he's going to run this year with the guy that's leading the scheme and Pete Carmichael to really know. And because what would it have looked like last year? Would it have been 35-9, or would he have had a second, half of the season tail off and the whole thing gets flipped? And we're talking about another, 25-30 or 30-20, whatever it is. So I think the jury is still out there, and I just don't know that we can. I think it's strength from the perspective of they don't have to break in a new quarterback into the scheme because there will be some continuity. The weakness is, all right, he's coming off an ACL injury, hadn't played with Michael Thomas his entire Saints career because, Mike's been hurt and Jameis wasn't the starter. He's going to be missing Alvin. So how does that all come together? I think it's just impossible to say right now whether he's strength or weakness.
And the Trevor Penning factor too that you mentioned.
Yeah, left tackle.
Like how is that going to affect his decision making?
I feel like we're all sitting.
Let's go.
Because the Senior Bowl stuff, like when we were looking at offensive line and stuff, him getting his ass kicked at the Senior Bowl was a deal breaker for me. And I can't imagine. That week 1, week 2, like started the season left tackle.
Like him versus Trey Hendrickson.
I'm not high on him at all.
When you brought him up,
it took me back.
Yeah, well, look now.
Trey Hendrickson, he's coming.
Trevor feels like a little bit of what the Bengals got in free agency this year. He's Trevor Penning feels a little bit like that because he's definitely a guy that's like got that nasty in him. He had the highest run blocking grade from Pro Football Focus that they've ever given, like a max 99.9 was his run blocking grade according to PFF, which is the highest among any FBS or FCS player last year. So like that part is exciting, right?
Right.
But what's he going to do? Yeah, with Trevor Penning, coming off the edge. Or I'm sorry, with Trey Hendrickson coming off the edge, with Sam Hubbard coming off the edge. I don't know. That's another part of the unknown, and that goes into the strength and weakness conversation with Jameis Winston. Let me ask you. I won't be there for that. I doubt it. I'll probably be in.
I'll represent for you. Yeah,
okay, good.
Me and Ace are going to be there.
You guys let me know. You need some recommendations when you get.
Sure.
We'll take care of it.
Send it up.
I got you.
Food.
Yeah,
anytime I go to food. That's all I need.
Whole deal. We got it. Last thing I want to ask you guys though is, what's your impression of Cam Jordan? Because to me, like we see these physical specimens on Instagram. Like, do you see JJ Watt's recent post?
Yes,
I mean, like
insane.
Him and Saquon, I think have won the offseason.
He's gonna get a random drug test from the NFL tomorrow. Right. Pretty sure that's gonna happen.
That's not Cam Jordan though, right? Like Cam's a big dude. He's obviously a strong dude. But
Bengals fans, we're used to guys like we're coming from the Geno Atkins, mode, or Carlos Dunn, like these guys that are big in stature or very low, high lower body strength, but don't
good football players.
Really good.
As long as you can play football, Cam Jordan is a football player. You put him in whatever, he's gonna do his thing.
5'2", right? I mean, it's not like he's small by any means. He's a big dude, and he's done it on a consistent. But would it surprise you if I said that there are only 2 players that have had more sacks in TFLs in the last 5 years than Cam Jordan?
Ooh.
That's amazing because he's not He's not talked up there with the Donalds or the Miles Garrett's. He's not talked up there like that.
But when we got Trey Hendrickson, they all said it was a product off of Cam Jordan, right? Right. God. So that and then when you go watch the game, sure. But you know what I always know about is all the stuff that he does in the community, in the picture that is painted for us a lot. They always paint him on, and they do it with JJ Watt, but I guess JJ Watt is just more household name.
You went 3 paint him like defensive player of the years.
Yeah. And that too, just a couple of those. But I just think that the Cam Jordan one, they sell him really, really hard on his community work and stuff like that, and they don't highlight his accomplishments on the field as much.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. But man, is he just a shining light in New Orleans with all the work that he's done, man. It makes me I am no longer a Saints fan. Right. I try to be a little bit unbiased in the work that I do, but I'm a fan of New Orleans. I'm a New Orleanian at heart, and man, it makes me feel proud, that Cam Jordan is a representative of the city. And he is a damn good football player. I mean, we're talking about a dude that I'm telling you, when it's all said and done with the numbers, people are going to look at it and be like, oh, those might be Canton numbers. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's a matchup that the Bengals. What week is this in the season again? Do we is this?
It's like week 2 or 3.
It's early on, right?
4. Week 4.
So it's early on. So are we going to know enough about La'el Collins? Week 6. Are we going to know enough about La'el Collins to feel good about that matchup with Cam coming off that side?
I think I'm going to tell you this about Joe. If he can make Trey Hopkins, Adeniji, and Isaiah Prince look like even make them look average, I'm not worried about La'el. I'm not worried about anybody on the offensive line. Our biggest hole, I guess, is at left guard with Jackson Carman, right? But even with that said, I know that Joe is always going to make sure that he's going to slide his protection to the correct side. He's going to make his adjustments. You could dominate different points of the game, but he's going to get out of it, and he's not going to let your best player dominate the game.
But
unless you're Aaron Donald, in the second half of a football game.
Cam Jordan could wreck the game, so I'm pretty sure they'll make sure that
he's more than capable.
Hey, and what about Joe Asai? What about Joe Asai this year coming back from injury? Right, we didn't even see him last year. Throw him into the mix.
I don't know if you're familiar with Twitter Spaces and stuff. So these are these forums that we go in there and we just battle and stuff. So one of the things that is kind of taking me off my game a little bit is if I'm optimistic on a guy that hasn't done it yet, then we're not even allowed to talk about it or something. It's some weird unwritten rule in Twitter Space world or something. But that's my secret weapon. That's the guy in the stands when I'm in New Orleans. I'm like, hey, watch out for that. I'm like, hey, watch out for that.
For sure.
I'm always big on who he did it against, the competitions that they went against. So even though it's a super small sample size, the fact that he was able to do that against the team that he did it against the player that he did it against, I think was enough for me to say whoa, if this guy can really put it together, and that was just a preview of things to come, he is going to be a problem in this league for sure.
And then the last matchup I'll talk about a little bit is, all right, Bengals on offense again. We know that Marshawn Lattimore is going to be in the vicinity of Jamar Chase for a fair amount of this game, I would imagine, right? Some way, shape, or form. And then you've got, CJ Gardner Johnson in the slot. Probably get a lot of Tyler Boyd there, right? Maybe wherever. And then is it Alontae Taylor, second-round draft pick out of Tennessee, the Cookie Monster? Is it Paulson Adebo? Last year's – oh, you didn't know that? He had an NIL deal where every interception he got at Tennessee got everyone in Knoxville free cookies from this amazing bakery. So he had a couple picks. He had a pick 6. The lines are around the door. Free cookies all day on Monday at that cookie shop. Anyway, that's why they call them
Cookie Monster and Sauce Gardner are officially 2 guys that just got away. Those are 2 guys that should be Bengals, but continue.
Yes. And then Paulson Adebo last year, who was a day 2 pick. I forget whether it was second round or third round. So then is this a T. Higgins game?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Is this a T. Higgins game? Where does that match up with that, I'm not saying he's the third wide receiver, but I'm just saying that third corner for New Orleans, wherever it is, is that the matchup to take advantage of? So I think those are some to really, really kind of think about when we get to week 6.
For sure. Well, Brett, we want to thank you for being so gracious with your time. I know we went over a little bit, but please let people know where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Hit me up, on Twitter at Rhett NFL, Instagram at Rhett NFL. There it is right there, baby. Hit it right there, bottom of the screen. We'll be on NFL Network on Sundays during the games, likely with all your in-progress highlights as they're happening. And where else? Mondays, Move the Sticks. That's your recap, on Mondays after Sundays of football. So we'll do that. That's obviously out there on digital. It's also on NFL Network on a replay. So, and then, just whenever you guys have me back, you find me right here.
Yes, sir. Well, guys, please be sure to check out his stuff for sure.
That's it, man.
We'll definitely have to get you back on the show again, Rhett, and we appreciate
you guys are great, man.
Some time with us. Take care.
No, of course, my pleasure.
Come and get them Uno wings. Uno wings. Who they gonna beat them Uno wings? Uno wings. MB's got you with them Uno wings. Uno wings. They tell me that the Uno wings will make you do the gritty. The Uno wings will make you do the gritty.
Once again, shout out to Rhett Lewis for joining the show. I thought he had some good stuff to say about the Bengals, some dope stuff to say about the Saints preview. The Cam Jordan take was a good one, I think, by him. Zim, were there any thoughts that you had on the interview?
Clap it up for Rhett. I just thought that was a really fun interview, man. Kenny, get out of here, Kenny. But I just thought that was a really good interview, and I had a lot of fun. I thought his energy, I'm a big energy guy. So, you have when we said stuff, he would just, pop up out of his seat to, answer it. I just thought it was dope. It was fun. I had a good time. I thought, I feel like the world is starting to come around and understand that, there's a guy that's contributing on NFL Network, and he believes in Joe Burrow like most of us do. I don't know, I thought his Saints insight was really, really good for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So we appreciate you guys for watching. Next week we'll be back for more. We'll be breaking down the matchups between the Falcons and the Browns. Once again, if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Please be sure to check us out in your podcast store, wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a rating as well. We appreciate that. Follow us on Twitter at the Wincinnati Pod. And before we get out of here, Zim, was there anything else that we needed to let the people know? Okay, you just want to put the hand on your face. And if you're watching and if you're subscribed, you will see Zim with his hands touching his face.
No, Kenny came over. Kenny Pickett. We're filming vlog number 2. Kenny Pickett's coming over. He's going to be washing dishes. He's sweeping and stuff. So I was actually filming that earlier. So be on the lookout for vlog episode number 2. Kenny Pickett is washing dishes and stuff. Aside from that, I want to make sure we were talking about the Saints game. I want to remind everybody, please make sure y'all follow Fans of Cincy on Twitter, Instagram. I'm going to be doing a contest where you can get a free tailgate. That's drinks, food, everything all included. Me and Ace are going to be at that game. So please make sure you follow the Wincinnati Pod on Twitter. Free contest. All you got to do is RT the tweet, and you can get a tailgate package for free and drink and get lit with us.
For sure. Thank you guys for watching the Wincinnati Podcast.
Yes, sir. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Wincinnati, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
How do you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time? Yeah, shock the world.